Perfect. Well, thank you and welcome to Simplifying Apple Device Management with CDW, Apple, excuse me, Jamf, and RapidIdentity. and women's hockey team at Georgian College. And joining me and Barry are my wife and 2 children. So the CDW Canada and Apple partnership, we've really kind of put it into 3 different buckets. And so there's a 20-year partnership. We are Apple's largest channel partner. And if we look at recognition, we're their International Partner of the Year in 2022. We are an Apple authorized education and enterprise reseller. We're a member of the ACN, or the Apple Consultants Network. And of course, yeah, full product offering on the Apple side, including things like Apple Watch, iPhone, and of course, Mac, iPad, all of the accessories that accompany that. From a resource perspective, we have dedicated Apple badged resources for both sales and technical enablement. Some of you may have met those folks over the years working with CDW. We have a dedicated sales and operations, as well as technical resources that are responsible for the Apple business at CDW. And we have some really great resources that are focused on GPOs like OECM, Kinetic, and Canoe, and a number of other of those resources from coast to coast. And then lastly, from a services perspective, we have Apple professional training certifications and things like device support and deployment management of Apple devices. So feeling really comfortable about our skill set there. Smart service desk, smart fleet services, smart managed security, all of that as well. And then of course, best practice workshops, collaboration, professional services, you name it, we probably do it. And we're really excited to be able to bring that to the market as well. Today, I'm going to be passing it over to my friend Kat at Jamf, and she's going to take us through a little bit more about the Jamf relationship with Apple and CDW, but specifically simplifying things with Apple device management and Jamf. So over to you, Kat.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christopher, for the introduction. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. Really excited to walk you through how Jamf is supporting the K through 12 segment in education. And we can go move right along. So I'm Kat Garbus. I'm a Senior Channel Program Manager. I support our partnerships day to day. With me today is my colleague, Nason. Nason, if you are able to come off mute and you want to say hi quick, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Nason. I am the Jamf channel manager here in Canada, supporting the entire channel business across the country, coast to coast, and working very closely with the CDW team to provide you the best service we can. Thanks, Scott.
Perfect. I would love for you all to get acquainted with Jamf and who we are. So we're going to go on to the next slide, and I'll just give you a quick rundown. Some of you perhaps may have explored us before. Perhaps you're hearing about us for the first time, and you might be asking the question, like my mother, what's JAMF? We've been around for the last 23 years. We started with Apple device management. Have really grown and expanded from management to identity security to endpoint and network security for the Apple platform. We have been rated since 2018 on third-party websites such as G2 and TrustRadius as the #1 Apple MDM. And a lot of that comes down to the thought behind a lot of the software we're putting out there. We have a 97% customer retention rate, proven track record. You might have even caught perhaps online one of our recent Jamf Nation user conferences. Apple confirmed that they use us as well. So we're really a trusted brand, and we're really helping from the time that device is first turned on all the way to managing, securing it. And we really keep that focus on Apple devices to ensure that our customers truly have everything that they need when it comes to managing and securing Apple technology in their environments. So next, I want to tell you a bit about education technology for Apple. And in short, we are the leading MDM tool for Apple devices. We believe that really no one can help get the user just more out of that Apple ecosystem than Jamf, but also balancing it for IT. A lot of people actually may not know this, but we started in education and then expanded into other area segments such as enterprise and commercial. We are supporting more than 42 million students in a one-to-one or shared device scenario. And a few statistics we are proud of. We are working with the best 10 out of 10 global and national universities ranked by US News and World Report. And we are being used at all 11 of the top best universities as ranked by Forbes and the most valuable brands list. And as far as schools go, specifically in like the K through 12 segment, 40,000 schools globally. So a little bit more about us, just to kind of talk through a bit of our recognition in the marketplace. Um, we continue to grow, innovate. Some people might say, hey, Jamf's been around for 20 some years. Is their product old? No, we continue to, I say age like fine wine. We continue to really build off of what we have and become leaders in the market. So I would say, though we are relatively newer in the security space, I did want to point out that we are already winning security awards, such as Best Mobile Security Solution Award that we just received at TICE this year, and then everything in between. We really want to make sure that we continue to, I like to say, we started the party with Apple management because there really wasn't anything out there, and we want to continue leading, right, Apple management in the marketplace. So let's dive right in. Now that you've gotten acquainted with who we are, I want to talk about how we're really helping educational institutions in K-12 with Jamf. And I think the best way to start with that is talking about some of the common challenges that we are seeing. So if we go to the next slide, there are some major challenges out there. Some of them are harder than others, right? So we see operating system updates or upgrades, making sure that if we have to push a patch out there, right? Things from that maintenance side, activation lock potentially, right? Whether it's a student or teacher, maybe they're signing in with an Apple ID. So helping manage an Apple ID strategy, or you might throw your hands up and be like, we don't want to mess with Apple IDs, just take everything away. But just know that regardless, these are challenges that we can help with. I hate to say it, I hate being the bearer of bad news. Cybersecurity. In one of our recent podcast episodes of Jamf, I was like, who would want to hack a school? Apparently people do. And whether that is unfortunately for financial gain or student safety, whatever it may be, there's things out there that we want to obviously be mindful of as we think of protecting the device, the institution, but more importantly, the user that's using these devices, and that's often a minor, right? So it's even other things too, zero touch deployment and maintenance. Maybe your school, or even as big as the school district, want to deploy or refresh Apple technology that you've perhaps purchased recently from CDW or considering buying from CDW, but you want to make it easy. Using the entire cafeteria to lay out all the devices and going through all the setup steps is probably not productive. And this is one of the areas that we can save time and support with. Social media did not exist really in my day, but it exists today. And it might even be things like, hey, one of my teachers is a teacher here in the US. And she's like, do you have anything to help take away TikTok? It's distracting all my students, or they're taking bathroom breaks and they're running off and going and doing TikTok challenges, and we can't have that. We can help with those things. So it's all the way from things like that from the IT perspective to in the classroom. And that's where we want to help with enhancing that learning environment, right? Apple technology was wanted. People put budget for it. At the end of the day, though, how do we maximize that device? What are some resources we can leverage so that way that student and teacher really are taking that learning experience to the next level? And that's where we have some app solutions that I'll walk through to help with that. And then, of course, budget, right? Nothing is free. There's always a cost to everything. However, I will talk through some of the cost options, and they're quite great. We offer special educational pricing for K-12. So I will definitely walk us through that. But if there are other challenges, I don't know if you have chat available, you're welcome to send me a note that I didn't express on here, but these are some of the common ones we are helping our customers with every single day, and I'll walk through how we're solving a lot of these. So let's go on to the next slide real quick. This is the balance we're trying to strike here. So we're trying to strike that balance of what IT needs and what's needed in the classroom. We know that IT needs specific tools to deploy, manage, secure the devices on one hand. all the way to that dotted line, to that connection to the teachers, so they can enhance the learning experience with technology. So we're really trying to strike that balance between the two, and we feel we have achieved that with our K through 12 offering. And there's a lot to consider, in my opinion, when you are supporting devices with K-12. In the next slide, I want to show you just kind of a big picture here. So we're helping our education customers with truly every single one of these items, all the way from, again, zero touch, network threat prevention, privilege elevation, security reporting, classroom management, helping the students focus, all of these things. So our goal is to really ensure, again, from the time that device is truly first turned on, or even a thought when you're talking to CDW and you're saying, hey, we're looking to do a refresh, hey, we're looking to add more, but we also want to make sure it's controlled and deployed right? All the way to the time that device is retired, recycled, and we're going to repeat that process again, everything in between. We really want to support our education customers with that. So let's start to unpack what we're seeing here and how we're helping organizations every single day with K-12. So we're going to start with Jamf School. Now, Jamf School provides a simple and powerful interface, and it was truly designed for education. So we're providing institutions with powerful tools that they need to support IT as well as for learning and teaching. So with the ability to support perhaps a fleet of iPads, Mac, and even Apple TVs for signage, Jamf School is truly the perfect place to create that rich technology-enabled learning environment for both students and staff. Jamf also has some additional apps that can further empower the educator and learner in that environment. So with Jamf School, we can get full reporting on devices, group devices, so perhaps devices for administration, devices for students. They're going to have different needs, right? They're probably going to have different privileges, and even within, let's say, administration, a teacher is not going to have the same rights, perhaps, as the principal, right? So things like that we want to keep in mind. And then, of course, sending updates over the air rather than visiting each and every device individually. We can ensure we are supporting the device remotely if ever needed. And then next, I want to show you the dashboard. This dashboard really offers a comprehensive overview, and this is an easy way to track devices, users, and apps while easily identifying issues that need attention. So some of the K through 12 applications that I was alluding to earlier, that we really want to leverage for enhanced learning. We want to have these applications for the teacher app, which is for teacher control, resources for student learning, and then of course MDM for the devices and ways to view if any of the devices perhaps need IT's attention. So this really creates a bird's eye view, as well as that dotted line, like I mentioned earlier, to technology communication for success. And that way IT can help with needs and teachers can support with what's needed in the classroom. So a moment ago, I painted a picture of, we got a bunch of devices from CDW. We're going to line them all up in the cafeteria, turn them all on, and go through all the setup steps. That is not the way to do things. We have a very exciting way to really save a bunch of time. So Jamf can help support devices that are institutionally owned, as well as even bring your own device. And if you've got a hybrid setup, let us know. We can help with that too. But for today's examples, we're going to focus on institutionally, or the school owns the devices, basically. So I have two examples to showcase how we're helping organizations save that 90% in time savings in a secure and streamlined setup for Mac and iPad devices. And this 90% in time savings is not a number I invented. This was proven in a case study done by a third party called Hobson and Company. And they did a sampling with our customers. So they're a third party researcher to help us conclude of how much time we are saving organizations that were either using no setup process or a like MDM and still saw significant time savings. So let's go to the next slide and look at our first option. So we have the iPad, and basically the user can turn on the device. Once it's connected to Wi-Fi, the device is going to recognize right away, ooh, I've got different DNA. I'm owned by an institution. And it's recognizing here it's owned by Jamf. That would have the school's or institution name, but it wants to make sure that I am who I say I am. So we are using Jamf Connect in this case to authenticate, and that was with Azure to basically validate, hey, this is me, I'm a teacher perhaps, and this is my device. Or if we have a student one, same thing, whatever the profile is. But basically what we see here is the device had a pop-up and it was saying, I'm talking to the server, talking to Jamf School. I'm talking to Apple's push notification server with Apple School Manager. And I know that this iPad belongs to this school and the IT team pre-configured it with apps I might need. We saw a custom wallpaper come down. We're seeing maybe some things disappear. But this is basically what it looks like. And this is it. We skipped a bunch of setup steps. It never asked for an Apple ID. It never asked to restore from backup. It never asked for any of these things because we as the IT team said, we're going to skip this. We've got custom configuration. And that's what makes it really easy. I want to show you the Mac example next. Similar concept, but basically same thing. Device gets powered on. In this example, we're in the USA, sorry. And it's going to connect to Wi-Fi, same pop-up. It's talking to Jamf School again, talking to Apple's push notification server and Apple School Manager. It's saying, oop, this device, it is owned by an institution. Here we have an example of a custom message that we can support with, and it's actually walking the end user. No one's clicking anything, no one's doing anything, but it's letting them know, hey, I'm installing these apps you might need that your IT admin pushed down from the cloud. So we've got some applications coming down over the cloud. We're also starting to see some security as well. It's letting them know and really walking them through the process, but no one's having to click anything. So it's letting them know, hey, there's some things as a student that you might need. This school is obviously using some sort of identity access, right? We saw in the last one, Azure. Same concept here. There was a quick authentication. And yeah, and that's it. It just kind of drove itself. It was like an auto car. We're asking it to authenticate just one more time. That can be done as we saw earlier or at the home screen. But I want to point out everything is installed, including security. So even if the first thing that student does is try to access maybe a gambling website, they can't. It's been blocked. Or if on accident they're surfing the web and they go to install malware on accident, we already have everything they need pre-configured. So if the very first thing they do is something out of bounds, they can't do it because we're not waiting for security to come after the fact. It came up front. Let's go through. I want to just go through a few quick examples of some of the other things that we have available as well. So let's go to the next slide. I'll touch on this one really quick. For part of K-12, there is a mechanism for temporary privilege elevation. So IT admins can configure Jamf Connect to allow temporary elevation for specific user groups based on their identity. And this can be configured with a limited time duration. So like for 10 minutes, you get escalated privileges. And it can be restricted to specific tasks or applications. So in this example, we see a printer driver install. Rather than to have ask IT or give someone full privileges or manually make this happen, teachers can leverage this feature without having to open a ticket. So it provides logging, auditing capabilities, tracking who used privilege escalation and for what. And I think that's critical for some compliance needs. So we limit that scope during privilege elevation, but this is common that we see in a mayor. I don't know if this speaks to anyone on this call, but I did want to point it out that it is helping mitigate security risks while granting some access for non-IT personnel. Let's talk about content filtering as well. So we want to ensure students are protected from what they could accidentally stumble upon online, as well as an additional layer of security to the network. So we have the ability to block specific websites, even in full category policies, and then can even have them grandfathered via an inheritance policy. So in this example, we're blocking anything from adult content, ads, pop-ups, and even as simple as the app stores and music stores, gambling websites, you name it. And these rules can be customized and even scheduled. Let's talk about the next layer of network threat prevention. So again, if we go to the next slide, we want to not only protect the device, but that student using the device. So in this example, I just want to make sure we go to the next slide. It might be a little bit of a delay. There we go. So in this example, we see a notification that IT reached out to the student, and the student is more likely to trust that, oh, wow, it came from IT, but it didn't. So we're preventing that with our network threat prevention, is our technology knows in the back end this did not come from IT. And it's really about, again, protecting that student, the device, the network. And of course, it will phone home should something have occurred, and it'll let IT know, hey, student got something. Usually it'll self-quarantine things, but should they found it in junk folder, whatever, or it didn't quarantine, or they clicked on something, it knows to do that. And I love this because it's taking action in real time, not waiting for something to occur, or we are completely preventing it. So it has this smart capabilities essentially to auto filter and quarantine as well. Let's talk about some security reporting, because let's pretend something happened just like this. What happens there? So if there is an incident that might occur, that device phones home and provides detailed reporting like we see here to security or IT admins to investigate. This is helpful for remaining compliant, as well as supporting any cybersecurity insurance needs. So, and of course, we want to, again, protect the infrastructure, the devices, and the students using these, but know that we can get forensics on all of this. I want to pivot and talk a bit about some of the Jamf School for K-12 applications to enhance learning. So we talked a bit about setting up the device, maintaining the device, security. Let's focus on the student. So this is an example of the student and teacher app. The teacher can use their application to enforce focus time and take away distractions from the student, only making lesson plans available. It also has the great learning options as well in case the student is perhaps shy, doesn't want to answer a question and raise their hand, or perhaps a student doesn't understand something and doesn't want to ask a question because they're self-conscious and they don't want to look dumb in front of their peers. Whatever it may be, they can actually message the question to the teacher to help them. And these are just a few examples of some of the handy tools we have to help with enhancing that learning environment in the classroom. We'll go to, yeah, it's kind of just scrolling through some of the things I spoke about. Let's go through parental support. So we got the teacher as someone, but we also have parents as well. So with Jamf School, we actually offer applications for parents as they are part of that child's learning process. So with this application that we offer, parents have some admin rights over the device where they can allow specific apps for a certain time. So parents can say only certain apps that are school related are allowed because we want them to focus on homework and not YouTube. Or we set for that period of time and we can schedule it. If they need the internet, perhaps we allow a few websites for them to search things because they could also Google YouTube. So when we see in this example, applications that the parent perhaps found as a distraction, they were removed and they will reappear when they allow them or the schedule set time expires. So just to kind of round it out, we'll go to the next slide, and it just kind of paints a picture that the ecosystem for K-12, it's vast. And we know that Apple is a piece of that puzzle. I just want to make sure we're going to the next slide. I think there might take a click or two. There we go. We know Apple is a piece of the puzzle to the overall infrastructure. We know a lot of the environments are mixed. There might be some Windows devices. There might be some Chromebooks wandering around, right? So we know that we want Apple to be easy. We want it to be when Apple devices are chosen, we help ensure that deployment is done with ease. Just as you saw, we want to include those apps, permissions, restrictions, third-party solutions that we're seeing here. We want to extend to our security solutions to wrap everything up, ensuring learners can really help learning fearlessly and anywhere it takes place, whether it's at school or at home. We want to layer in that content filtering as well. So we kind of see it all as layers, right? We see that manage layer all the way to secure, and we're layering with safe internet, protect, and connect. And all of this is really underpinned with a seamless and integrated management and security solution. And of course, as we just saw, we want to empower teachers with programs offered by Jamf and Apple to ensure they are prepared to take advantage of these devices, fitting this into the overall IT infrastructure. So I want to talk about some of the deployments. Jamf K through 12 can really be used at all levels, whether it's just the lab and only Apple devices live in the lab, or it's the entire school or even the entire district. We're very scalable. So whether you have 5 devices or 5,000, we can help at all levels. And now the next slide kind of shows there's 2 options with K-12. We have Jamf Pro and Jamf School, and you might be wondering which. Our Jamf K-12 offering has the ability for institutions to decide between either one. We almost always see K through 12 environments choose Jamf School because of the features above. So here's a helpful list of the top reasons why organizations leverage Jamf School. My rule of thumb, if it's high ed, where you're educating adults, they might not need some of the applications that are offered in K-12. But this is a sampling of what's available in Jamf School. So if these are speaking to you, most likely Jamf School is the right fit. Otherwise, we can also explore Jamf Pro, but you have the option to flex with both. And if you're looking for a full list, I put a little QR code here, and you can also look for yourself and kind of decide the full list. What do we need? What's in Jamf Pro? What's in Jamf School? And I'd honestly like to invite you to do a trial as well, but most organizations with K-12 choose Jamf School. Before I let you go, I'm about to wrap things up. I want to share with you a few case studies of the 40,000 educational institutions that are using Jamf. So if you go to the next slide, it's got a list of some of the publicly available ones. We are under NDAs, so I can't talk about the schools unless they're like, here's our publicly available case study. But you go to jamf.com/resources/case studies to read all about each of these and see kind of how they're being used globally and the reasons why they picked us. I really want to focus on the Scottish Borders Council. This one is in the United Kingdom, and they basically wanted to redo how they were approaching learning in 2018. And they chose Jamf for a few reasons. The zero touch experience that I showed you earlier, the smart groups for assigning teachers based on criteria, and it's our patented reporting. And this is across 9 high schools and over 10,000 iPads. So let's kind of bring it home. So we would love the opportunity to work with you. I'd love for you to try a trial out, talk to our friends at CDW. And I just want to show you a bird's eye view, a snapshot of all the features provided in K-12 through our offering. It's a hearty list, but we really want to make sure our customers have everything they need. I was in auto sales, so to me, it's like a bumper to bumper from deployment all the way to device retirement. And then this slide, it's the last slide, and it's our offering. So we revamped the offering to include more at less of a cost. We launched this newer offering on March 3rd, same great products, just more is included. And this is special education pricing. So again, it has everything you need there. The little asterisk by Jamf School just means if you want Jamf Pro, not a problem. But we are offering it at $10 a device. So I think that's really, really great compared to the enterprise cost. It's $120 a device a year. So I would invite you to try it. Get in touch with your CDW representative for more information, or if you want to talk to us, we are here to help. So thank you so much for your time.
That's great. Thank you so much, Kat. Much appreciated. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I know I saw a few of them pop up in the last little bit here, but yeah, more than happy to help there. And now I'm going to be turning it over to Carter Dunbar at RapidIdentity, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the offerings on the RapidIdentity side of things. So with that, take it away, Carter. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Christopher. So my name is Carter Dunbar. I am the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships at Identity Automation, who is now Identity Automation, a Jamf company, as you can see by the logo on the screen. So we were acquired by Jamf on April 1st. So we are about 6 weeks into that post-acquisition life. But we've really been down this journey with Jamf for the past 3 years, working together as partners, leading up to the acquisition. What I want to touch on in this conversation is where do we fit from a rapid identity perspective with the Jamf offerings in the K-12 space. So we've been working with Jamf, as I said, for about 3 years now. And really the problem statement came about when they said, what does a user need in a K-12 district to be able to effectively leverage technology to do their job or to move the classroom forward. And we at Identity Automation have been doing this for about 20 years in the education space, and we boil it down to three core pillars. The first is full identity lifecycle management. So that means when somebody joins the district, when somebody moves within the district, or when somebody leaves the district, they have the right amount of access to the right things for the right amount of time. And so that's where, with our identity lifecycle management offering, we focus on things like account provisioning, account deprovisioning. So making sure that users have the appropriate accounts with the right security levels in the different systems that they need to be able to do their job, their function, or their role. We also do things like group management, entitlement management, privilege management. Everything from an access and security perspective is going to fall within that identity lifecycle, because it's not just a one-time set it and forget it. It really is an automation of your district business processes and enforcement of your security policies. So if you think of identity management as user management, that's really the first pillar. Who's who in the zoo and what should they have access to? The next pillar is what we call rostering. So this is handling the enrollment data to build the relationships for every teacher and student in a classroom to have access to the appropriate ed tech applications that they need for the courses that they are enrolled with and assigned to. So think of that as application management. With rostering, we're going to be providing access to all of the resources the classroom needs to function, and we're going to update that information as courses change, as schedules change. I remember I used to be in my 20s, I was a high school teacher, and we were told for the first 2 weeks of each semester, don't actually teach anything because the schedules are going to keep changing, and you don't know who's going to be in your class until after those first 2 weeks. Well, with a system like this in place, that's going to be automatically updated as students are moving from one course to the next, one teacher to the next. So that waiting period didn't have to take place anymore. And then the third pillar is authentication. So if we have who is trying to access things and we have rostering, which is what are they trying to access, authentication is all about how they're trying to access. It's all about building in a simple and secure layer for those users to be able to log into both their systems, applications, as well as the devices themselves. So we do user management, application management, and then that login management experience. And that can manifest in the sense of single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, user self-service, things of that nature. So the way that this relationship was born out between the Rapid Identity product and the Jamf product set came down to the need to exist in a mixed device ecosystem in the education space. So we had a district that was a mutual customer of ours. It was about 75,000 students, and they had invested in Apple devices, Chromebooks, and Windows devices. As such, they had many different challenges for being able to deliver a consistent experience across all three of those. With Windows, they were relying on Active Directory and Azure. With Chromebooks, they were using Google Workspace and Google Classroom. And with the Apple devices, they were leveraging Jamf. So what they really needed was some connective tissue to be able to streamline the management of identities across all of those devices. So if a user was trying to hop onto an iPad and then moved over to a Surface Pro, they would still be able to access all of the resources that they need and have the same sign-on and login experience. That's where Rapid Identity came into play. We became the identity infrastructure that all of those three infrastructural ecosystems were pointing to for identities, and we became the login for those devices, as well as controlling access to all of their applications and systems. So what it does is it levels the playing field. One of the complaints that we had heard was Apple devices are so powerful, so amazing, and our users love them, but they require a completely separate administration program and ecosystem to handle them. With Rapid Identity in the mix, what we do is level that playing field to where you can manage all devices and really give your users the best experience with the best option for them. So the value proposition, as far as with Jamf Connect and Rapid Identity together, what this district was able to accomplish was successfully deploy MFA or passwordless authentication for all of their users across all of their devices. if a password changed in one system, if someone changed it in Active Directory, it would propagate out across all of the different systems and ecosystems so that the device is always in touch and is always in line with that. We also maintain 14 different authentication methods that are specifically designed with K-12 in mind. So we have some of the most high level of non-phishable, high assurance authentication methods for MFA to put on your IT privileged admin, your superintendent, board members, people like that. But we also have ease of access authentication methods to where first graders are able to successfully MFA into their systems using things like QR codes that can be printed on their student badge, as well as pictographs to replace a password as something they know. With that, we're able to simplify the login experience for all of the end users because we can tailor those authentication policies down to the individual identity's needs. The way I like to say it is we can create a policy for left-handed third graders with green eyes as long as the data is there for it. You can have as many policies as you need, leveraging different authentication methods to support their inline personal needs. The third thing we do is simplify the user and device management for IT staff, because as we said, at this point, the Apple devices, the Google devices, and the Windows devices were all able to be managed by the same team because the access that users would have once they got onto them was going to be the same regardless. We're able to strengthen position against ransomware attacks and malicious actors. The main way were through MFA, locking down the login, but then the other one was around privilege management and making sure that there wasn't an over-privileging of security entitlements and access, as well as ensuring that when a user leaves the district, their access is cut off at that time. That can be if they are a teacher that's retiring, if they're a student that's transferring out, or if they are a visitor or a vendor that came on site for 2 hours, needed access to the Wi-Fi, and have that automatically revoked so you don't have rogue orphaned accounts that are sitting out there that a malicious actor could go take over and do lateral movement to bring your whole system down. And the last and most important thing, this is part of how we are different from a lot of the other identity players and why Jamf specifically wanted to acquire us, is we secure the digital classroom without interfering with it. It's real easy to have a security conversation with a Fortune 100 company because the CEO is going to say, you have to do this or you're fired. It's easy to have this conversation in the healthcare industry because it is, we have to do this or we're out of compliance. In the education space, your mandate is we have to secure these systems to protect our users, but we cannot interfere the classroom. That's a really hard challenge. And so being able to work together to make logging in easier but more secure is where we thrive. Now, the diagram that you see on the screen right now is one from a customer that was already using Jamf that brought identity automation in, and they said, here's our problem. The way they presented this to us was they called it architectural spaghetti. They had multiple self-service tools, multiple identity tools. They had Google Active Directory, Azure. They had a couple different MFA and SSO portals, a different system for rostering. They had data coming out of an HR system, data coming out of their SIS system. To make sense of that, they had to put it into an ODS or a data lake to be able to try to blend and cleanse that data. And based on what your user type was or your role, you may be going to log into 6 different places. And they had multiple SSO portals. So it defeats the purpose of having single sign-on if you have multiple single sign-on portals to go to. So what you don't see on the screen is anything regarding Apple devices or Jamf. And the reason for that is when they put this on the board for us, they said, this is the spaghetti we have to try to figure out. We said, okay, this makes sense for your Chromebooks and your Windows devices, but where's your Apple devices? And they said, that's a completely different ecosystem that we have to manage completely separately. So we worked with them for 6 months, and coming out of it, we were able to streamline their ecosystem and architecture to where RapidIdentity could sit as that source of truth for identity for all of the downstream application systems and devices. We're able to get rid of the need for the ODS or the data lake because we're able to source directly out of the HR system, directly out of the SIS system, blend that data together to create a single master identity record for every single user and identity that was coming in. And we were able to be that sole source for Google to plug into, Windows to plug into, and Apple via Jamf to be able to plug into. So what that did was that brought staff, teachers, students, and parents into the equation, where parents could bring their own device and parents could bring their own identity with things like social login, so they weren't overwhelming the district help staff with password resets tools, or how do I gain my access, how do I log in, things like that. What they found was, from a year over year start of school difference, they saw an 86% drop in help desk tickets on the first day of school after Rapid Identity was in place, because it removed all barriers for logging in, claiming accounts, resetting passwords, and being able to empower the teachers to facilitate their own classrooms. Now, that's all nice for me to put up there as a diagram, but who actually uses Rapid Identity? So from a social proof perspective, from a sizing, we have districts as small as 200 users that leverage our tool, but really we thrive with scale and complexity. It comes back to that automation of process and the enforcement of your policies. So we have a very power user heavy district in Owensboro Public Schools that's about 4,000 users, all the way up to the entire state of Kentucky in the US and the entire state of North Carolina, that works from their state level Department of Education down to every single K-12 institution, with an identity fabric that blankets the entire state and connects all of the LEAs and school districts together with the state. And to back that up, here's the logos. We were previously an 80-person company before we were acquired by Jamf. And so because of that, we had geo-locked ourselves to the US market. As such, we became the #1 market share leader in the K-12 education space in the US. 37 of the 100 largest school districts in the US use us as their identity tool, and 6 of the 10 largest use us as their source of identity. With Jamf now, we have the resources to move beyond the US market into Canada and other non-US based markets. So we're really excited about the opportunity to combine our technology with Jamf to provide a streamlined experience for your users across their access and their devices wherever they may go. At this point, I'll pass it over to Doug and let Doug talk a little bit about the services that CDW offers. But if anybody is interested in this type of solution, please reach out to your CDW rep, and we're ecstatic to hop on and discuss with you.
Thank you, Carter. Hello, everyone. My name is Doug Fiebig. I'm the National Education Strategist for CDW Canada. I'm here today to discuss the many services that we offer our education sector customers who are deploying Apple devices in their environment, as well as how to procure those devices and the incredible solutions that you've just heard about from Jamf and Identity Automation. Next slide, please. So CDW provides a number of advisory services and assessments to help you prepare for deploying Apple devices within your organization. Our Apple Readiness Review is a comprehensive assessment of your organization's Apple environment that determines your position for adopting and using Apple devices in your enterprise. It also ensures that you're ready to support users of Apple devices and provides guidance and best practices for managing your entire Apple estate. During our Apple and Jamf health checks, CDW will cover high-level topics such as procurement, connectivity, device posture, productivity, and technology lifecycle. These topics will be addressed through sessions conducted by a CDW engineer with your IT team. Apple Device Optimization is a thorough evaluation and enhancement of your current MDM environment, specifically for your Apple devices. Completing an Apple health check prior to this engagement is a requirement, as the optimization will be performed in accordance with the recommendations provided by the Apple health check. A CIS benchmarks engagement strengthens the security of your iOS and Mac OS devices by aligning them with CIS standards. CDW will help you choose the right benchmarks, audit your current scores, and carefully test your security settings. During a Jamf Pro or Jamf School implementation, CDW will guide you through the setup, ensuring smooth and successful device enrollment. We will configure essential MDM settings using modern, effective practices to simplify management, boost security, and improve how your Apple devices are handled. Jamf Connect implementation involves CDW guiding users through the process of utilizing the Jamf Connect application and conducting an testing on Apple devices using Jamf Pro or Jamf School with Entra ID. Together, we will test, pilot, and prepare for production. And finally, our Endpoint Risk Management Managed Service supports the ongoing management of new and existing endpoint devices, including provisioning, device deployment, app deployment, OS updates, software patching, and overall device management. Next slide, please. If you have any questions, would like to see a quote, or better understand how you can utilize one of our contracts or GPOs to procure your Apple devices, Jamf, or identity automation solutions, please reach out to your dedicated CDW Canada account manager or email us at cdweducation@cdw.ca. And this brings to the end of our presentation for today. I'd like to take a moment and thank all of our presenters, and of course, all of you who took time out of their busy schedules to join us. I would also encourage you to take a moment now and scan the QR code that you'll see on your Apple screen. We'll lead you to the Apple Education page, where you will find more information on the benefits of CDW and Apple Partnership for Education. Thank you, everyone. Once again, have a great day. And thank you again to all presenters and everybody who attended.